Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. So
I'm a climate scientist.
I'm
Nice to meet you.
not sure.
I'm Srinath, also a climate scientist.
You?
Supposedly.
Cool, Stella.
Nice to meet you. Not good at English.
Pretty good at it. Do you like school? I do not like my biology teacher.
Why?
She was not good.
She was not good.
Not good.
How is it here? Do you like your teachers or?
How was your day in Korea?
Yeah, we've been here for 2 days. It was very good. The only problem I've had so far is the vegetarian food.
Yeah, you're a vegetarian.
I'm a vegetarian, so I don't eat meat or fish.
So
So that's been a bit of an issue, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that I read it about your information is in website and you are introduced North Polar specialist. So why is it here? Busan? Why?
Actually, Busan is the best place for the research because in Yeongdo there is a big research center. Actually, they are operating the polar research along with that Polar Research Institute in Songdo. So, as a matter of fact, the Incheon one, they should move right here.
Yeah.
But at the time, there is a fight among politicians. There's politicians in Busan and politicians in Incheon. But one politician in Incheon, especially in Songdo, he was very popular with the Lee Myung-bak president because of the Polar Research Center remain alone, even though they belong here.
Yeah.
But eventually, I think that they must move right here because the ship, polar ship, is going to start from here, and then they go to north and south.
How many researchers working here?
Oh, a lot of scientists. It's a national research.
So I work on a couple of different research projects. So one of those is with ships, when they go, they emit sulfur, and that causes pollution. And it also changes the clouds. So what we looked at is, so if you have ships going across the Arctic, how will that impact the local air pollution and air quality?
I think Russia is not going to care about that pollution, right?
No, but we should.
I mean, you should, but
Everyone should.
should, okay, but what I'm expecting is Russia is not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good business anyhow, right?
Do you think many countries, I mean, a lot of countries will
yeah.
in the future?
I mean, if you look at the map, I mean, you can understand quite easily and why the kind of business is so important. What I heard is just one ship from Busan to that and it's gonna save tons of money because I mean, without the route, we gotta go down to Singapore and then we have to pay a lot of money for staying there.
Yeah.
And then after paying this one, and then the company must pay for the private soldiers because a lot of pirates exist. And then they must go through the what is that? The Egypt.
Suez
is quite expensive, and then they have to wait for a long time to pass by.
학회에서 한번 들은 적이 있거든요. 지금 보면 기후학자이시잖아요. 근데 저는 일반 시민 입장으로 그 학회를 들었을 때 굉장히 뭐 돈들을 벌어야 되고 뭐 이렇게 얘기하면서 굉장히 그냥 개발에 초점이 맞춰져 있는 포커스가 맞춰져 있는 것 같아서 들으면서 굉장히
Because right now a lot of guys are investing businesses there, but definitely there is a conflict between business and preservation of the nature. What do you think?
What do I think? Huh?
Yeah,
I mean, your perspective. He doesn't have an answer.
I need to think about what
I think anyway, ice, I mean, we're just melting down. Even though we want to protect our environment in a way, I think global warming is now. This is our
last chance.
yeah.
I agree. So I think the problem is also like, what do you put your money in, right? Do you want to build infrastructure for 2050, 2100? And so the thing is like, so every government is like 5 businesses take decision over 15 years. And I think that's the big problem. So now say for example, the US, it's very business. It's only business, and that is bad. In other countries, it is like business and or it's too much. It's in the other side. So you want something in the middle. As for it is sad that the ice is probably going to reduce a lot. But the thing is, it will also change the local weather, and I'm not sure that we know a lot about it. which will be an issue. So then you can think about what sort of infrastructure do you want? Like what are you building for?
For environment or for business?
For business or for environment? Or is there a middle that you can do? And who is going to take responsibility? And for why? And for
Future
what?
generation?
Yeah. And so for example, so Norway and Sweden, they also have some area there on top that they will be affected by whatever, say Russia or Canada, because it's not isolated.
Have you ever thought about Mars?
Mars?
I mean,
I think,
SpaceX.
yeah.
Move to
I think it is still easier and cheaper to reduce the climate, to reduce the emissions on Earth than go to Mars. Especially if you consider there's 7 billion. So then unless you say, well, we want to save only 1,000, which is, and it's still a long way to go. We're not even there yet, right?
But I think the problem is like that. For example, Korean government was the process that business section in Arctic region because that's going to be definitely beneficial for example, Busan. The Trump administration, he really he just wanted to do something there. In the case of Korean government was to say, oh yes, let's do it. That's a direction.
But the thing is also that with the Arctic, right? Like at what rate are we thinking about the sea ice melting? Like how soon do you think these units will be operational? We're talking 20 years, right? So
In 20 years, yeah.
So then like the money can be used for now rather than for 20 years later. When even if you don't have kids or if you don't have a next generation, you're still affected because that's money not being spent right now, right? And so that's the other thing. So like, are you investing for 20 years later when you don't know? Like 5 years ago, we didn't know that the world would be like this today, right? So then, what are you spending money on?
Mars, the problem is a lot of the technology that's needed to sustain life on Mars doesn't exist yet.
Doesn't exist yet.
So, I mean, even going there is very difficult. Once you get there, how do you stay alive? We don't know.
And I guess more philosophically, why are you staying alive in Mars? Why? It's like if there's nothing there,
Elon Musk is collecting people, right? And they
you
cannot
cannot come back. No.
Just once a lifetime.
They are not gonna come back.
Why is Mars any more interesting? There's nothing there.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it possible to grow those stuff?
Oh yeah.
Land.
I think what he was talking about was underground colonies.
Yeah.
So you don't even see the sun. You don't even see the sky. You're living in a basement. It's like, why?
Maybe a lot of oxygen exists on the ground, like a total liquor moving, right?
Yeah.
Northern route is gonna go. That's my guess.
I mean, that'll happen.
Yeah. We are living in Busan, so
Right.
northern.
But is Busan the closest to the northern route?
But actually, the answer is like that. If you look at the map, and then if you see the Korea, I mean, there should be a port, right? Some big port. I mean, you think about it, the Busan could be some place where the goods are coming from the China, and then the China, especially eastern side. I mean, the transportation is always issue. To deliver the goods
But couldn't they just go that way?
inside the land.
No,
Over land and set up a port north?
What I know is that there is a railroad from Busan to Siniju, and that's in North Korea, and then from Siniju to the Siberia. But this one is Russia and China. Yes, China. But the factory area is a bit far away, and northern route is definitely cheaper. And then the good thing about Busan is there is no major port, and then Japan doesn't have it there. So I think whatever happens up there is going to be most beneficial in the world. And then Alaska, definitely one target, but infrastructure.
They can develop the infrastructure very quickly.
I know the Trump administration definitely is going to do it, but still, I mean, a lot of goods and whatever are being produced here, China, Japan, Korea. So they must be transported to Europe. So. And then a lot of guys in Busan are quite against that, and then they are supporting some politicians who are quite against that plan. These politicians hate North Korea. I don't understand. That's really stupid. I mean, North Korea really wants that. Kind of a connecting railroad from Busan to Sinju. Yeah, they have to make money somehow. And then they are expecting Trump to. They really want it. That's the only one thing the Korean people think
Income
positive
source.
about Trump. Trump wants to be friends with Kim Jong because that good relation could open up business. Yes.
But why do you like Sweden, the US? Like what aspects do you like?
Healthcare is much cheaper. There's good work-life balance. And it has a lot of gender equality.
Right.
So in my group in Norway, there's 10 of us in our group, and 3 men and 7 women. And everyone is just, nobody thinks about it, right? Versus in other countries, it would be the complete opposite. So that's,
If you have a child, you get many days of parental leave.
700.
700?
For both.
2 years. Almost for 2 years.
You can only both take it together for, I think, one or two.
And then after that, you have to switch.
육아휴직 두 분이서 같이 해서 700일.
700일. 그러면 거의
2년.
2년이네요. One children per one.
Per child. And you can use it till the child becomes 12.
Anytime.
Anytime. So you have to take 1 year compulsory, I think, or a few months. And then after that, you can take it anytime.
I think 1 month before you give birth, the mother has to stop working. And then after that,
Right now, in Korea, most serious social problem is personal.
Right. But you know, in my case, I mean, I was an elementary school teacher in Korea. Actually, 3 years parental leave for 1 kid. So but 1 year I can get paid, but it's fine. And then my friends, they have many kids,
3 years, 2 years, 2 years, yeah.
and they, you know, they can have really total 9 years.
But another job can
Yes. Agreed.
And I heard that in European countries, that they already had this problem. No person. Maybe I think that Korea is will go to that direction quite soon, I guess, because it's really serious.
Yeah, I think the other thing was also like, they noticed that, so in the US, for example, so it's like, so the women, when they get, so they don't go promote as fast as the man, because if they have a kid, they're off for a few days or a few months. So, and then they have to do most of the childcare, right? So that's why, so here, if you go in Europe, at least in Sweden, you join at the same position and you will be treated in the same way. When my sister-in-law, my niece, my sister-in-law took a week off, 1 week.
In US.
In US.
that's pretty good.
That's
I mean,
pretty
a
good.
lot of people in the US, they give birth, they're back to work the next day.
And like, so childcare until you're
Yeah,
1
right.
is very expensive. Yeah, for my second niece, it was 1 week. So, because I was I lived about 6 hours away from my brother in Boston. So he called me up and he said, hey, I think she's going to give birth. So I took the train to Boston, and then him and his wife went to the hospital, and I stayed with the first niece, and then the next day I went with the stroller.
Strong children. Right? Yeah. It's like a deer.
Because childcare is so expensive in
It's
the
very
US.
expensive.
Yeah, but after giving birth, usually the mother will stop working
Right.
because it's cheaper for her to take care of the child rather than
Right.
pay her.
I think Korean education fee is very high. So if the government can't solve this problem, we don't want it to have a baby.
Yeah.
That's too costly.
Yeah, and everybody does private education.
And then the big problem is that even at school, and that's the national standard education.
Yeah.
But they assume that most of the guys are taking private education, and because of that, they're really going fast.
Yeah.
So without private education,
Can't do
normal
it.
kid, cannot follow that. That's good.
It's the same thing in India too. It's like, but it's the same teachers who teach in school also do private education.
That's allowed.
Yeah, so it's also like, oh yeah, you don't understand this. Come to my. It's like you're just paying twice the money.
하는 못 알아듣겠어. 궁금한 거 없어.
Because she didn't understand. She had no question. Very,
너무 우리 어른들만 얘기했잖아.
she wants to study in US.
Oh, nice.
Many parents want to be a doctor, so it is a very big problem, I think.
It's the same in India too, right? So when I did the entrance exam, everybody wants to do, at that time it was computer science, IT, or mechanical engineering. And then if you're lower in the ranks, then it's chemical, then it's something else, right? Civil engineering. It means, so like in my head, it was always like, you're a failure. If you do this, so there's nothing about interest. But for me, it's different because my older brother, was already doing a PhD. So my parents were like, okay, do what you want. And so I did what he did. So sort of thing. This is,
Even in US, I think medical school is.
yeah, it's very competitive.
It's also very expensive.
But they also work a lot.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Really?
that's crazy.
The problem in the US is you earn a lot of money, but you don't get very much from paying taxes. You pay taxes, but the government barely gives you. You still have to pay health care, you still have to pay child care and everything. So you make more money, but you end up spending more. So it's
I mean, in US, medical school is like that after undergraduate, right? PhD,
undergraduate. If you want to go to medical school, you have to do pre-med.
pre-med,
Yeah.
And then they must have a perfect score, right?
Very
Perfect, yeah, perfect grade. I remember, I mean, when I was doing TA, teaching assistant in Yale, I got angry about one guy, and then I gave a really bad score. And then this guy just tried to find me to correct that score, something like that. And then I didn't want to meet him. Why do I have to care about him? But he always chased me. And then I asked him, really, hey, what the heck is the problem? He said, I really want to go to medical school. You give me that score, and then,
I took a class with pre-med students when I was at Yale. It was difficult because they were all very, like they already studied what was going to be taught. To me, it's then why you even come into class? You already know what's going to be taught. Then why are you here? But it's like, yeah, for pre-med.
And then how long do they have to take education in medical school? 4 years? 4 years.
And then internship.
Yeah, in Norway, paid job is the worst job, right? Business, doing business is much better.
What does the job?
So like having your own company is good versus any job you open a company.
Paid by company, that's really bad job. So scientist is really bad job.
Really?
Science professor.
No, it's
In Sweden and Norway, because people know that the government will support them, there's not as much pressure to go for a job that pays a lot. So people feel free to do what they want.
do what they like.
In Norway, when I take a bus, the airport bus, the bus driver, I mean, he owns this car.
No, it's not. But yes.
Yes, and then I asked him, what is the annual income?
How can you ask me to ask? Wow, it's very rude.
I mean, we talk a lot.
But the question is also like, why do you need money? And so if you're earning less, but you're not spending it because everything else is, so like health is paid for and everything is paid for, childcare is paid for. Then it's like, why do you need money? University is
Social
free. Yeah.
system is very
University is free.
Mhm.
So it's like you're not saving for the child's education.
You know, when you were in Sweden, we don't spend a lot. I mean,
Because
we
there
didn't
is
spend
no
a lot.
place to spend.
Oh.
So it's just like, okay.
Quite boring.
In the US, you need to make a lot because if something happens, if you develop
You need an emergency.
a medical problem or something, you need a lot of money or else you'll go bankrupt.
Yeah, that's really dangerous.
I've thought about similar things. So I did my undergraduate in India versus I had friends who did their undergraduate and cousins who did their undergraduate in the US. And I was like, I tried to compare like how my life would have been if I had done my undergraduate. And I think for me, it's like career-wise, it would have been much better if I had gone to the US. But I would have also missed like a lot of living. So in the US, things are a little easier than if you do it in India. Like, your living condition, your education.
It's much better.
It's much better in USA. Versus, it's different.
You're saying you need to struggle to grow?
It's not struggle to grow, but it gives me confidence that I can live in a different place. Versus in the US, it's like, it would have been much better for my career because they encourage research. In India, when I tried to do research, my professor was like, no, go back and do your homework. Which I think might be similar here as well. It's like, don't, because I was interested in, at that time it was neural networks. And I was reading magazines in the libraries, like, no, don't waste your time. This is not in your course. Go back and do your homework.
In the US, there's a lot more focus on independence. And professors, they will encourage the students to try new things, do new things by themselves. So doing that does allow you to learn a lot of skills in science. So that is a good thing.
Yeah, maybe India might be quite similar.
Right.
We are not encouraging students. We are ordering.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.